Howdy do.
Hello.
We're going to talk about the things that we read in February.
Yes, we are.
I'm Jessica.
I'm Christina.
And you're watching
Game of Tomes.
Okay, so I forgot to bring it with me to hold up, but that's alright. I DNF'd Dune by Frank Herbert.
Oh, yeah.
It was a buddy read with a few book-to-be friends, and it was kind of a bust. I wasn't enjoying it, couldn't get into it. Megan didn't read it, and a couple girls didn't finish it, or haven't finished it yet. And then there was like one person that finished the book.
Wow. I hate when buddy reads turn into a bust. Especially if that's the first time you're buddy reading with those people.
Yes.
Because it's just like, oh, it's such a bummer.
It makes me look irresponsible.
No. Well, I mean, like, no one else read it. But
yeah,
way to go, that one person who did finish it.
Yeah, I really was looking forward to, having good conversations with those people.
Yeah. You've been wanting to read Dune for a really long time.
I have been wanting to read Dune for a very long time. And it sounded like a really good premise.
Yeah.
Guy goes to another planet and to mine it, and it's like Dune-y.
Cool.
It's sand.
Great description. I would have DNF'd it too.
Yeah.
Okay. Bad. Well, you said it turned out to kind of be more political.
It was
than
really
you thought.
political. Yeah. And normally that doesn't turn me off, but it was just like, I don't know, the writing style I didn't enjoy, and it was just, I don't know.
A few things stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, well, and I thought, oh, this isn't the right time for me to pick this up or whatever, and then I was listening in on some of the discussion, and I was like, no, that doesn't sound, I don't want to read it.
Yeah.
So I've decided that, no, it's not for me.
So for our In Real Life book club, we read Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor in February. Yes. And I gave it 3.5 stars.
And I gave it 3 stars.
Mm-hmm.
I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But we didn't like it as much as Daughter of Smoking Bone.
Yeah.
And the story is very, is it Heart of Atlantis or Journey to Atlantis? Anyway, young man is passionate that there is this lost city with magic, and he does all of the research, and he's totally in love with the lore and everything. And then one day this man comes and says that that city does indeed exist and that they need help saving it.
Yeah. So to me, this felt quite similar to Daughter of Smoke and Bone, but it is in the same universe. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of similarities in it, and I really enjoyed it, but I don't know, nothing really like stood out to me, and I didn't feel like super invested or connected.
Me too.
But I did listen to it on audio. I think I would have enjoyed it slightly more if I read it physically, but I don't know.
I think the narrator did a good job.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I had trouble just paying attention.
There was a lot of...
It was long. I think it could have been shorter.
Yeah,
if it had been shorter, maybe I would have liked it more. I do want to finish the duology.
Yeah, I do too.
And figure out how it ends, and I think it might eventually tie into Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, and that would be really cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it actually does.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was good, but,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I feel like I could have done a better job talking about it, but that's alright. Okay. I got This Time Together by Carol Burnett a few years ago at the flea market in town. Because I love Carol Burnett, and I think she's a living icon. National treasure.
You know, I don't know if I've ever actually... I mean, she's familiar, but I don't know if I've ever actually seen anything with her in it. I'm sure I have.
Have you seen Annie?
No. What, like the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's been like...
Okay. She's amazing in that movie, but also she is most known for her variety show that she had on television.
Oh. Was it the Carol Burnett show?
That's the one.
That sounds familiar. Nope, never watched it.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Oh, her show? Is it the Carol Burnett show?
She's so funny. I laughed out loud several times, cried twice.
Oh, wow.
It's a beautiful book. I gave it 5 stars.
That's awesome.
I highly recommend it. And it's a collection of stories from her life. and some of them are just so ridiculous, and some of them are very sad.
Yeah. I really like that in kind of autobiographies, is when it can make you laugh and make you cry, and, you know. Well, I think that's what everybody strives for, but yeah.
Also, one thing I found out is that she and Julie Andrews were good pals back in the day, still are, I guess, and they've done several television specials together, and I was able to watch those on YouTube.
Oh, that's cool.
And I didn't know that those existed, and it was very cool.
Cool.
So I'm glad I read this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
5 stars. Is that your first 5-star of the year? I don't know what mine was.
No, because I gave Game of Thrones 5 stars.
Oh, yeah.
That was a given.
Okay, let's talk about that, actually. I read A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin for part of the Catch-Up-a-thon, and I did not rate it 5 stars. I know. I actually gave it 4 stars, but I think just because, like, rereading it again, I wasn't as into it as I was the first time around. Yeah. Also, the fact that it took me 2 months to read it kind of dampered me down a little bit.
You're just ready to be done with it by the time you get to the end?
Yeah, because I actually didn't read the last few chapters. I just listened to it on audio. And I was like, I'll skim over them. And then I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So, but I mean, I love it. Obviously, I love the story. And I feel like because I've seen the TV show and because it was my second time reading it, I already know everything. I just needed, like, that refresher of the details. Yeah. But I feel like I'm like, okay, let's go already, you know?
Okay.
So
that's why I loved it. I loved going back over it and getting all the small details that I missed the first time, and I had a really great rereading experience of that.
Well, good. I'm glad. I felt a little stressed on finishing it in time as well, so that didn't help. So I'm hoping Clash of Kings to start it sooner and to do a better job reading that than I did A Game of Thrones. Also because I haven't read Clash of Kings ever yet, so you know, really looking forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I'm excited for you to pick it up.
Thank you.
So then we both listened to Endurance, A Year in Space, A Lifetime of Discovery by Scott Kelly.
Good job.
He spent a year on the International Space Station.
Yeah.
With cosmonaut Mikel.
He says Misha is what he calls
Misha,
him.
that's right.
He also spent a year as well. And
in space, right.
Yes, and they had other astronauts come in and stay with them for like months at a time, so they were constantly changing. But it was so interesting.
It was so good.
And listen, when I first started the audio, because obviously he narrates it, I was like, he's so monotone.
He is.
It's the same if he's talking about repairing the space station as he is talking about his children. Right. And at first I was like, oh, I'm not going to like this. But like, I found I actually really did enjoy his voice.
I did too.
And I really, but that's also, you pointed out when I told you this previously that they're trained to, you know, be very calm and, you know, and I would imagine so, because I'm getting way off topic, but I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars, but really
I gave it 5 stars.
Yeah, when I finished it, I was like, yeah, that was good. But what really enhanced that is watching on YouTube. Time did a kind of like docu-series about his time in the space station.
Called A Year in Space.
You can look it up. There's like 11 episodes and they're like 15-20 minutes each, so they're not very long at all. And that really enhanced, you know, reading this, because I could visualize everything, because they show a lot of stuff. And it's just like really fascinating. I really like learning about space and like things that people go through and just different stuff. But once you actually hear like the physical toll it takes, the mental toll it takes, and like it's just really interesting to find out like how strong of a human being these people are to do this. Right. No running water for a year. You don't feel running water for a year. And that's just one little thing, you know? Yeah. That blows my mind.
When he got back home, the first thing he did was jump in his pool.
Which I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And the book is divided into, like, one chapter will be about his time on the ISS, the long haul he did, and then it would go back to his personal life, and it would lead up to how he got there. Yeah. Both just like with his relationships and with school and training
and career and things like that.
And it would just go back and forth between the two.
And I really like that. I thought it was interesting. I've never given much thought to how astronauts are picked, but it sounds incredibly challenging.
Another thing is that he has a twin brother who is also an astronaut.
Yeah, so, I mean, you guys might have heard of him. When I Googled a picture of him, I was like, oh, I remember hearing about this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you Google it, then you'll probably know. Sorry to interrupt you.
You did already. No, it's fine. And then they did a medical and DNA testing on both him and his brother to see if and how his DNA was changed in comparison to his brother, who did not spend a year in space, just to see how his body changed physiologically.
Yeah. Good word usage. And they'll continue to do that for the rest of his life because they want to find out the long-term effects, not just... They've had astronauts stay for like 3 months at a time or 6 months, but they want to find out the long-term effects. And one thing that really surprised me was he talked a lot about, not a lot, but he mentioned how much his eyesight changes every time he goes to space. He has one eyesight here. I think he had perfect vision, and then he went to space and it altered, and he came back and it altered again, and he goes back and it alters again, and it's like, I have glasses and contacts, you guys, and to have to get my eyes checked that often, oh my gosh, that is... It would bug me so bad. So he really puts up with a lot. And I thought he did a really good job talking about his home, like his personal life and his career, kind of interweaving that.
He was really open too.
Yeah, he was.
I appreciated that.
Yeah, so especially about his relationship with his wife, because obviously a year in space is not easy on any relationship.
Sure.
Obviously, because doesn't everyone do that?
A year.
I just
on
meant
any relationship, of course.
I just meant, you know, being away from someone that long. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's what I meant. And his daughters. And he talked openly about how he's not always had the best relationship with his daughters as well, which I appreciate because I think a lot of people probably wouldn't have mentioned that.
Oh, the thing I really liked about this story was that he talked about what a terrible student he was.
Oh, yeah.
In elementary and high school and in college.
Yeah.
Until he discovered that, oh, I could be a fighter pilot. I could be an astronaut. And then all of a sudden his drive kicked in and he had to battle like dyslexia and he felt like was it dyslexia or ADHD he felt like he had?
ADHD.
Okay, my bad. And so he overcame a lot to be able to come here, and it's like a great message. Like, if you aren't doing well in school, there's hope for you as long as you apply yourself.
Yeah.
Even later in life compared to, you know, some people who have been just like excelling.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be like a complete genius from the start.
The one part he mentioned he wanted to go to a party over Labor Day weekend, and his brother was like, you need to study. And that really, he's like, that's when it hit me, like, okay,
this is how
I need to achieve what I want to do.
Right.
And he said that was kind of like a pivotal moment in his life. It's like he felt like if he would have went to the party, things could have turned out totally different.
Yeah.
He could have just not studied and then not excelled, you know. So yeah. Also, some of the stuff they do is like terrifying. Spacewalks.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I feel like this could have been like its own video.
Oh my gosh.
I wish we had done that.
We should. Yeah, we should have.
Oh well.
I highly suggest reading this or listening to it and watching the documentary, or even just watching the documentary, because they're cramped. 3 guys are absolutely cramped, and it takes 3 hours.
And the Soyuz is
yeah. It takes 3 hours to get from the space station back down to Earth, and it showed footage inside, which I really liked. You could see out the window, and it was really interesting, and they're just so quiet. Like every time it showed them traveling back down in the Soyuz to Earth, they were just like, in their...
And they couldn't see each other.
No, they can't.
It was like this.
Yeah, I mean, they're like so strapped in.
It was like packed in all around them. And
then when they opened the hatch, it opened in, and I was like, there's no room for that. What?
Yeah.
Who designed that? Where you have to you can't pull it open, you have to push it in.
The American ones used to be like that, remember? And then there was like a fire or whatever, and so they switched it to open out. But the Russians never made the switch, and it made him nervous.
See, and he explains a lot about America doesn't send them off anymore.
Right.
So they travel to Russia, and he had to learn Russian, and I mean, it's really interesting to think about how much knowledge that man has.
Yeah.
And this is just like a knowledge of specific things. It just kind of blows my mind of like, if you really apply yourself, you can learn like a lot of stuff.
Russian.
Anyway, we're rambling, but it was so good. Okay, I'm
really
gonna have to change my rating to 5 stars because I really did love it.
Cool. Let's move on. I got one more to talk about. Do you have another one?
I have another one as well.
Okay. I read Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff.
Good job.
Thank you. It's the third book in the Illuminae Files. I gave this 3.5 stars. It's a young adult, epic sci-fi space opera. It's an inventive and creative series, and I'm so glad that I read it.
Yeah.
None of the books for me held up to Illuminae, the first book.
I felt the same.
I mean, it was still great, and like I said, I'm glad I read it. But I felt so emotional and passionate about the first book. Yeah. And then I just never felt that way about the subsequent stories. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it has to do with the fact that there are, different characters.
Yeah, also,
introduced.
For me personally, the second story kind of felt the same as the first, just retold.
Right, in a different way.
I wasn't as invested.
And then this third book brought those two stories together, and I liked the way it did it, but there was a big battle scene at the end, and I don't know. I wasn't all about it for some reason. It was good. I liked it.
Glad you read it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's all I want to say.
Wrapped it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's yours, so you can have it back and put it on your shelf.
I'll have to find a spot for it.
Yeah.
Okay, the last book I read, and, I listened to, The Giver by Lois Lowry on audio, and I actually really enjoyed it. I have it physically, and I never read it. It's like a dystopian or utopian, because it's set in the future. And it's about everyone is assigned a number. It follows this boy who is going to be assigned a job. He skipped over at the ceremony where each person who was born in the same year as he was is assigned their job. And then come to find out he is to be assigned to be the receiver of everyone's memories. And it goes from there. And filming with my child, so excuse my glances. But I actually really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. And I'm glad I read it. It was cute. I mean, it wasn't exactly cute, but it was like, I didn't expect the ending. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. I'm glad I read it.
Cool. I read it a couple months ago, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think there's a movie. Is there a movie?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like there's a movie, and I think I would like to watch the movie.
I would like to watch it also.
Okay. That's what we read in February.
When you play the game of tomes,
you read or you die.
Come be our friends. Social media links in the description below.
And we hope you're reading a great book.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's do a thumbnail.
Yeah, I'm sorry that's a little chaotic.
It's fine. It's like old times.
Whoa. Oh my gosh, yeah. Remember with 2 boys at once?
No. That's the worst. 3 boys at once. We've done that before.
I wanna hold your hand.
I wanna hold your hand. The devil's got hands. And he uses them for
holding things.
It's from Lockhart. Have you seen that?
No.
It's good.
We didn't watch it. We tried to start it like years ago.
Yeah.
When they put it on Netflix, and we were like,
it's ridiculous.
We love Johnny Cash too much. We're not watching this.
Well, then...
I think we would now, though, because we're more chill about it now.
Yeah. It's a cult classic.
I'm putting this right here, okay?
Okay. I was just watching your eyes going...
It was like this.
Lost, what felt like it all in a game. Every man I've measured died to hurt me before I could ever feel safe.